Morning, and welcome back. Well, I've just about, well, have I? Anyway, I'm getting over yesterday's, for me, last week for you's bit of a boo-boo. And, well, there's nothing I can do about that, so the generator, I'm not going to do anything more on until I get that part. Although, having said that, the part and testing for the leaking, I think, is all there is to do. So moving on with the things in the engine, it's now got to think about how to get the motor in there and the stern gear. I have the blocks, so I'm going to have to prepare those, paint those, which is something I'd rather not do, but needs doing, and then work out where to go. And the thing is, with this stern gear, I would say it's one of these. It's an art and a science, or a science and an art. There's nothing definitive, and you're placing the propeller in the dimensions and things is. I'm not looking forward to that, only because once it's done, and if I get it wrong, there's not going to be any easy way to rectify it. Especially just like anything, all this stuff that I'm doing in the engine bay, I'm not really going to know if anything's wrong until I'm in the water, by which time it's too late. Anyway, it has to be done because otherwise I'm not going in the water. So I'm just going to have to just grit my teeth and get on with it. And I'm sure there's both Rachel and Chris have a lot more. A lot more. I have zero experience. They have quite a bit of experience. So I'm going to be pestering them for help along the way, I'm sure. Alas, as I talk to you now, both of them are away from the boatyard, so I am literally and metaphorically on my own when I'm coming to this. So let's see. But I can manage a bit of painting on my own. Before I do anything more putting stuff in the engine bay, there's one more thing I have to do on the engine board from last week, and that is I don't know. the only light that's coming in here is from the air vent. So anyway. The way that the Colecraft have to secure the engine board, which is, I had to phone because I couldn't work out what this thing is for, which you'll see in a minute. But and you get a set of brackets, and you need to attach them under here and here, and these hook under, and then on this side, and let's see, I don't. With a bit of light, yes. So here is a little rod that you can operate from the cabin side, and in that there is, you then attach a plate again, a plate, and once it's there, I'll have to work out where it is and I'll drill a hole. So then that basically locks through that. As I said, it's much easier, as you can see. It's quite cramped as it is without putting a motor in here, so I'll get this done. So that's the brackets put in, and the hole drilled where it needs to be. And so, as you can see, so this is, you push that in, and now, ta-da! Can't get in it. Well, here's my Potemkin cardboard motor, and obviously I've done this because it's a lot easier to move cardboard than 75 kilogram lump of metal. Yeah, and the sort of the head scratchy thing is where to make the compromise. So ideally, this is the inner shaft seal, and oh gosh, sun's going ways. Anyway, this is the inner shaft seal, and will sit here. And ideally, the seals are where my thumb is, and ideally you want enough room to be able to pull that back once a year and to be able to grease that area with special grease on the propeller. But as you can see, that's already about halfway back. And that's even before you've got to get this is the coupling that attaches to the shaft, and then this is an R&D semi-flexible coupling. So all in all, and this is the front of the motor. So, however, I don't want to go too far back because otherwise, I need to get in the front here fairly regularly to service the engine and check the oil and things.
So yeah, I know I know it's always going to be tight. This was, you know, the things are in boat engines, but yeah.
Let's get these polished up. So I'm using a flap wheel sanding drum, which is it's a bit tedious, but it's not too arduous. Just I'll put some music on and carry on. There was some really stubborn mill scale on these blocks, so I decided as I've got the tools, I might as well get the angle grinder out and do a preliminary grinding, and it's coming off instantly, and then I'll go over on it, go it with the sanding drum afterwards. Ah, well, they're considerably shinier than when I started. Not perfect, but hey. So I've had a slight change of plan, and I think what I'm going to do is the blocks, I'm going to paint them once they're in situ. Primarily because the two plates here, you know, it's better to probably keep them smooth, and also by the time I've moved and drilled and, you know, generally bashed them about, they'll need a paint anyway. So that's what I'll do. I mean, the painting is entirely cosmetic anyway. So morning. Well, lying in bed last night thinking, as I do, I've had a small change in strategy. So what I'm going to do is, rather than, you know, cardboard bits and measurements are all one thing, but, you know, until actually you can see the motor in there, I'm going to, you know, it'll be a lot easier if I can, and I'm going to have to move it at some point. So I'm thinking of the best way to do that. Now, happily, both Harry next door and Rachel have an engine chain block, so which I can use to help me lift the thing. Because the electric motor, it's about, I think it's 75, 78 kilograms, which is about what I weigh. So it's not like engine massive, but on the other hand, it is quite, you know, it's more than one person to safely manoeuvre, especially if you've got to lift it quite high and down, and even two people, it's going to be a struggle. So yeah, so I was trying to think to get it from the inside through the hatch and down into it, and then, so what I've come up with, I've knocked up this morning a couple of dollies. And as you can see, what they do is they fit on the rails and move along. And then one of these, what are basically, I think, scaffold poles, but what are come with the Triton for the sliding table and are pretty hefty. They slide in there, and then if we and basically it can move. Just you need to. The thing is, there's a caster on the top, because as you come in, it has to. This narrows, so these need to. The pole needs to slide as well, so it has to be a bit loose. But it seems to be. Okay. And yeah, I said I am. The engine and the motor and me is about the same size, so it doesn't seem to be creaking or anything. So yeah, I think this could be a winner. The only slight thing is, as you know, I'm on a massive slope. So well, I was going to say, once you want it will start naturally going down there. Luckily, it does then curve up, so the chances of the motor shooting off the back are hopefully minimised. Yeah, I said, I'm sure, you know, some of you will be thinking I've probably overthought this, and I probably have, but I did think, you know, if I put some chocks of wood or something on there, it's, I don't know, it might have done, but wheels are always better. I didn't want the friction grabbing on and then getting all, and you couldn't just put a piece of wood over because of the hatch. You need to actually lift it up, and then, yeah. First thing I do is, as you can see on the left, I have to turn the feet around upside down. So I've just very, very lightly sort of balanced it with the chain, and I'll swap them around now. Right, well, it's time for the first lift. which is going to be done very slowly and gingerly, even if I'm going to speed this up massively for you lot. I'm not complaining in any way, and thank you very much, Harry, for letting me use this, but there is a bit, I guess this is meant for a very long lift, there's a bit too much chain for this small space, I have to say. Well, I hadn't thought that quite through properly because the lifting strap's a bit too, not loose, but it's a bit too long, and that's about as far as I can go. And as you can see, it's not above the door line yet. So, back down. Well, that's. I never like saying this in case it curses me, but that's good. I've managed to get it. Yeah, it's not quite down actually. I've just noticed the. There we are. Now it's down.
To use the phrase "that's in" isn't quite right because it's not in for the. It's certainly not in for the last time, but that's down very loosely, kind of, and it can't go any further forward because that. Well, by the time of that end, there has to be then at least a 1 centimetre gap between the coupling and that thing, which that's more or less. I mean, obviously this is not down to millimetre at the moment; it's just placed here. So that's how much I'm going to have to play, to get to the generator. So hopefully, well, yeah, that's, to be honest, that's by the time we take the panel off. I mean, it's not easy access, but there's enough access.
So it's more or less in position. Obviously, I'll need a lot more movement and not movements, but more measuring. And I really, it's one of these things. I don't want to do any drilling or anything because then that's it. But I mean, there is a bit of the holes that Colecraft made these blocks there. It does allow a bit of adjustment, and of course you can see there's a sideways adjustment. So it's not the end of the world, but you still need it at least half decent. And it would be great to have the prop shaft sticking through there. However, that's yet another another task. So I don't know whether to just boldly carry on with this one or try and progress the prop shaft. The thing about doing the prop shaft is I need Rachel to come back because I need to borrow her drill extension, which I think she's got because she mentioned one. She hasn't offered her. I'm going to ask to borrow the drill extension, but I'm sure she's so generous that will be okay. Anyway, that's enough rambling. So it's late afternoon, so I think I might stop here. Maybe a little more fiddle around with some measurements. Yeah, but while I'm going to have to undo all this, I think it's good progress. And you might have seen a lot of that, but for me, it's they say pictures worth the kind of thing. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Well, actually, plonking the motor where it should be is much is worth many times measuring it and seeing it. It's good and yeah. So the motor's gone back to the bedroom for a lie down, and so the next thing to do is I'm just going to have to grit my teeth and start drilling some holes. And as always, I just don't want to do this because I'm kind of committed after this, and if I've got it wrong, it's well, not that it will not be reversible, but it will be a right pain in the bottom. But I hope I've got things right. Holes drilled. Let's get some Yotomastic mixed up. As I will have to mix up some Yotomastic for the engine bay, and this is actually driving me up the wall because it is. I'm in no way anally retentive, OCD perfectionist, but it's still driving me up the wall because it's a new boat and I want rust streaks. Anyway, so I have there's a cunning plan to try and get some paint in there, but first of all I need to get the rust out. So what I've done is I've taken a wire brush and I've epoxy resined it into a thread fitting, which then fits on the threaded bit to these flexible things which I bought as actually as the chimney flue cleaner for the stove. And the idea is well, the epoxy wasn't very good, but there is anyway, but it does seem to have got a good bit of rust out. So I've put a bit of sponge on the end of the rod and some rust converter, and I'm going to now hopefully get that nice and liberally. Don't have my tripod with me, but yeah. Ooh, it makes a very lovely whoop. God, child within. Well, I've mixed the Yotamastic up, and before I actually use it, I've poured it all down that pipe, and as you can see, I've blocked off the end. So I'm now going to try and rescue the paint. Hopefully that will coat the inside, at least to some degree. Morning. Well, as the weather's still nice, and even more so as I'm still in a painting mode, I thought before I go any further with putting stuff around here, it would be a very good idea to put a coat of Yotamastic on the weed hatch, which I didn't get round to when my father was there. And also just further down there where the propeller and shaft are going to be, just do the painting now while I can get to it with the stuff in the way. I've also finished off the other pipes as well. Now, it's a funny colour because, well, not funny, it's a different grey because I just had some blacking left over, and I thought, hey, rather than just smear it over the rest of the blacking, I'll just add it to the Telegrau 1, and you've now got a battleship grey. I've also done the channels in the weed hatch, and the motor blocks have had their second coat. Plus, I've given another coat to the floor. Now, I'm not going down there for at least 24 hours because that's why the floor last time got so wrecked. So I was a bit keen and went down in there before it had fully set, and ended up wiping my shoes on the bottom of the paint, as it were. Morning. Well, that seems to be good and dry. You'll notice that I'm just in my socks, just in case that it wasn't quite right. Although it does strike me that probably it just would have meant just made it fluffy rather than dirty. So that means that I can get on with putting the motor in. However, unfortunately for you, you're going to have to wait until next week to see any visible progress, because it's not quite the end of the week, but I was starting to edit the videos last night, and I see that I'm well out of my time slot. So not a hugely step forward for watching in the video, but I feel like I've crossed that barrier of putting the engine blocks and deciding where the motor needs to go. Also, to get those, assuming they work, to get those pipes coated with paint. I've been meaning to do that for months and months and months. So, and I hadn't been looking forward to it because it was a faff. So to get that out of the way is wonderful. Anyway, so in the meantime, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you next week, and hopefully we will both see an engine in the bottom there. Catch you later.